Good morning and welcome to the OOMF Template Overview webinar. My name's Erica and I'm the Design Director here at OOMF. And today I'm going to take you through the Kanji Monster template that you can find on our marketplace. But before we get into the template, I'll just quickly give you an overview of what templates actually are. We'll go into our OOMF marketplace so you can have a look how we download templates, what other templates are available on the marketplace. We'll quickly do an overview of the tools that we're going to use to edit and export our files for the templates to then eventually get it onto your iPad. And then we'll go into editing our template and I'll just go through a few next steps after we've done that. So let's get started. Templates. Why would you want to use a template? First of all, I'll go into what a template actually is. And to show you, I'll open up our Kanji Monster example. So I'm going to do that in my OOMF editor, and I'll show you in a minute as well how this works. So basically what a template is, it's a structure or a predefined structure for the app that we've set up, and it just makes it easy for you to then go in there and you can add your own images, you can add your text, but all the functionality and the layout is already done for you. So I suppose we've done all the heavy lifting. It's just easy for you to add your design flair to it. This is really good in terms, I know a lot of us don't have time, so it's in terms if you want to do a pitch to a client and you want to do a proof of concept or a demo for an app that you want to pitch to a client, this is a really effective and quick way of doing it. Otherwise, you might just find a template on our marketplace that is exactly spot on for the project that you want to do. So you can use that as your basis and just build it from there, so you don't have to start from scratch. So this is the Kanji Monster template that we're going to go through today. And as you can see, so it's got a cover and it's pretty much sort of a travel brochure, which is the example we've got here, but you can actually use it for a lot of other things. So our content makes it a travel brochure, but this could be a product catalogue. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it into a restaurant directory, so Sydney Cheap Eats. But if you like, you can see it's a basic structure. So here's our contents, then we go into our content pages or our section pages, and we've got some text that we can replace, and we've got some tabs that we can go through. So this is going to bring up my map, flight information if you want to book a flight to Kyoto, useful accommodation links, and then finally just other useful links. And we've got a little slideshow. So if we go to our next page, you'll see the structure is exactly the same. So this sort of content templates are great for. So you're repeating the structure, but you're just replacing the content depending on what section you're in. So if we go through here, again, using the same structure, but we're just going to replace the content. So what I'll firstly do now is go onto our OOMF marketplace to show you how we can actually download this template. So if we go to publish.oomfhq.com, and if we say /marketplace, that's going to take us to the OOMF marketplace site. So I'm just going to log out with my OOMF account, and I'm just going to log in with my personal account. So first of all, to download a template, you need to register. If you haven't done that already, here's a little form here. It's quite straightforward. Like any registration form, you fill it out, you'll get an email in your inbox, confirm your registration, and then you'll be ready to go to log in. So if we come to this page and we just go and log in here, and I'm going to use one of my many addresses, and we'll sign in here. All right, so here we sign into Marketplace, and as you can see, Kanji Monster is the first template that we're going to download. But if you scroll down, you'll see there's a range of other templates that you can download as well, depending on what type of app you want to design. For example, this is a B2B magazine. This is Catwalker, which is, again, sort of a product magazine. So it's got a magazine look and feel, but it's got e-commerce integrated in there as well. And we're doing a webinar on this in a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in that type of template, please join. And then we've got a standard magazine layout. We've got events, both for consumer and corporate. And then we have little add-ons as well. So say you're using the corporate event template, but you want to have a form at the end of it to gather some information about the event, then you can download this little form page and just add it to your template. All right, so once you've decided which template you want to use, we're going to use the Kanji monster example. I'll just show you once you go into the template what it looks like. So once you open it up, it's going to bring up some screenshots. So you'll be able to see what the structure looks like. So there we go. And it will give you an overview pretty much of what the template is, what you can use it for, and what knowledge you need to edit these templates. So in this case, it's an InDesign based template. We've got other templates called text and editing template, which are for more non-designers or people that don't use InDesign. So that just means they can go into the folder and change a text file, which will update the text, or they can go into a folder and replace an image, which will update the image. But it will then give you less flexibility. But we're going to use the InDesign version today, so I'm going to go ahead and download that. So that's going to just download it to your downloads folder. And then I'll show you how we open up that template. If we just give it 1 second. So while we wait for it to download, to open your template or to edit your template, you need something called oomph editor. So oomph editor, if you see that little blue icon there, it's the oomph desktop tool that basically it acts like a finder and a preview tool when you're working, so you can have a look at your files. So in this example here, we can see these are all our files, and you can then preview your files as well. But I think my file's downloaded, so I'm going to use that example so we can see how it all works in oomph editor. So as you can see here, we've got an O project file, and we now want to open it up. So to open this up, like I said before, we need oomph editor. So I can just simply click on my file, and because I've got oomph editor installed, it's going to ask me where I want to save my source files, because I'm not going to start editing these files, so I need to save them somewhere. So I'm just going to save them on my desktop. And as you can see, that's open up my files, and now I can start going in there and editing them. What it's done as well is it's popped up my files in my oomph editor. So all our templates, once you open them up for the first time, comes with an instructions file. So this is just instructions that takes you through the basic steps of how you can edit this template. And these are the steps that I'm going to take you through today. So if you, for example, click on the bundle link in there, it's going to highlight the relevant folder on the side. So while you read through the instructions, you actually know which folder we're referring to. But we're not going to use the instructions today because I'm going to take you through it. So as you can see here, we've got our bundle. So our bundle is pretty much our iPad files. So these are the files that we're eventually going to put onto the iPad or publish to the App Store. And it's just a combination of PDFs, you've got video if you're using it, and features attached to it, and images. Once we start, for those of you that don't know oomph, I'll touch on the basics of how this folder structure works, how the naming works, but I'll also encourage you, we've got a few webinars, we've got a Getting Started Bootcamp, we've got a Features Masterclass, and we've got an Advanced Masterclass. That we've got both live webinars and we've got pre-recorded webinars, so I encourage you to go and have a look at them as well. That will just give you the basics of oomph, which will then make it much easier for you to come in here and start editing this template. So that's our bundle. Then we've got our source folder, and that's exactly what it is. So this is our source file. So as you can see in here, we've got both CS 5.5 and CS 6. So we've mirrored our bundle structure, so we know which section we're working on. And then you've got your InDesign files in here. So I can double click on that file, and it's going to open up the cover section of my template. So close that down. So once you've got your bundle, you've got your source files, and like I said before, Oomph Editor is really good in the way that you can test very quickly and preview your files on your simulator. So your simulator is pretty much exactly what it says it is. It simulates what you're going to see on your iPad. To be able to use your simulator, which is this little screen in here, you need to install something called Xcode. And in a minute, I'm going to take you through where you can download the link to install Oomph Editor, as well as where you can install Xcode once we've done this. But all you need to do is simply, once you've installed Xcode and you've installed Oomph Editor and you want to preview your files, all you need to do is you select your bundle. You can either select your bundle or you can select the folder that you want to preview, but we're just going to select the whole bundle. And what we can then do is say, all right, I want to preview this on my simulator. If I had an iPad plugged in, I can send it directly to my iPad as well. And I can just press play. So what's going to happen, it's going to load it up into my simulator. And here you can see, here's my template structure that it's loaded up into my simulator, and all the functionality works. All right, so I'll now quickly just show you where you can download Oomph Editor and Xcode. So if we just go to our documentation, which is support.oomphhq.com, you'll see in here you'll be able to search for Oomph Editor, and this is going to bring up a page that's going to show us how to install Oomph Editor. So as you can see here, you can download Oomph Editor for Mac. So you simply just click the Oomph Editor, which will download it for you in your downloads folder, and then we'll download Xcode as well. So to download Xcode, we can just go to the App Store, and we can simply just search for Xcode. In here, just wait for it to load. And there you go, there's Xcode. I've got it installed already, so it's telling me I need an update. But all you need to do is install that, and then once you open up Oomph Editor and run your simulator, that will pop up. All right, so let's get started on editing our template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up some files that I've done earlier, just to show you what we're going to do with our template. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to change the Kanji Monster template to a Sydney restaurant directory. So I've just called it Sydney Cheap Eats, and I'll quickly show you what that looks like. So here's our cover. So I'll show you how I've edited the template files to create my own cover. Then here's our contents page. So as you can see, I've used exactly the same structure, but I've just replaced it with my own background, own images, and added my own icons and replaced the text. And then here's an example of a section page. So again, just replacing the text, images, but keeping the same structure. And there's my links and links to the menu and to book a table. So what I'm going to do is start by opening my source files. So let's start with the cover. So I can just navigate to the cover in Oomph Editor, and if I double click it, it's going to open it up in InDesign for us. So this is my original template file. So this is what you'll see once you've downloaded the template. So all I've done is, this is the background. I've gone in and replaced my background, and I've decided, well, it's not really a Japanese feel, so I'm going to update my text, add my own icons, and move the text around a bit. So as you can see here, there's my background image. That's my title, and my icons. That's going to fade into it. So I'll just quickly show you how I've set up my layers. I find this a really good way to work, just so that it keeps your hotspots and your artwork organized, so it's easy to hide things when you need to export. So I've always got a hotspot layer at the top. So hotspots are basically, that's your functionality, or that's how we're going to add functionality. For those of you, again, that hasn't used them before, this is the basis of what all features are built on. And I'll take you through an example of how we do this. But I've always got a hotspot layer that's at the top. Then I've got a layer called hide. So I find this very useful when I've got elements on the page that I need to know where they're going to sit. But once I export my iPad files, I need to hide these elements. So they're not actually going to be visible on the page, because they might be an object that's going to be an image that sits within a folder. So they're not actually going to sit on my page. But because I want to know their position in my complete page artwork, I just put them on a little hidden folder. So basically, I can see how they sit, and then once I export, I can just hide them. Then I've got my bottom layer here, which is just my artwork layer. So that's all my elements that's always going to sit on the page when I export. And then I've got a second layer as well. So Oomph is really powerful in that you can layer up pages. So in this case, what we wanted to do is, we've got our bottom layer, and we want our Sydney title to move in, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then we want the cheap eats and the icons to fade in. So that fade in is on my second layer. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how I've set these up. So in order for my Sydney title to move in from the bottom, or for it to look like it's moving in from inside of the napkin holder, I need to put it into an object. So to do that, I need to create an area of where my title is going to sit. So I'll just create a new layer up the top, and we'll just call it new hotspots, just so that you can see how I created it originally. So I can just copy this and we'll paste it. So you just need to draw a box. I've just copied the original box because I want it to be exactly the same size. And then we need to add a hyperlink to it. So in this case, I'm just going to call it a descriptive name. So because I've copied it, I'm just going to take the hyperlink off. So I'm just going to give it a descriptive name. So let's call it title. And we're going to turn off our shared hyperlink destination. So basically what this does, this tells Oomph, go and have a look in our cover folder, and within our cover folder there's going to be a folder called title, and take that slide and put it into that area. So there we've got our title folder set up. So the next thing that we've done is we've decided, as I mentioned before, these elements are going to fade in over the top of my bottom layer. So I've just grouped them together and put them on a fading layer at the top. And then the final thing that I need to do, because remember we're going to hide that title, so we need to actually create the slide that's going to go into our hotspot there. So I've done that here at the bottom. So the thing to remember is that the size of your hotspot and the size of your slide should be the same. So as you can see, that's 545 by 120. So I've just set up a page here, and I've put in my artwork in there. So now we're ready to export. So we're going to hide I'm just going to hide my new hotspots because I've got my hotspots already set up, but I want to double them up. And I'm going to hide my second layer because we're going to export that separately. So we'll go in and I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. So we'll start from scratch and we'll call it Sydney Cheat Eats Working. So in terms of calling your bundle something, you can call it anything. You don't have to call it bundle. So this is essentially the name of your app. It's not going to show up anywhere, so you won't see it anywhere in your app. But again, you probably want to call it something descriptive because hopefully you're going to do a number of apps. So we'll put it in there. So now that's our main folder for our app. What we now need to do is create our section folders. So we're working in our cover folder, so we can create a cover folder. So I'm going to put a number at the front of my folder. So the number is to tell Oomph in which order to put your sections. So it's basically sequential. So I'm going to use increments of 10. So I'm going to use 10-cover. And then my next section is going to be my introduction. So I'll call that 20-introduction. And the reason that I'm doing increments of 10 is just for the simple reason you might decide, or you might have an advertiser that comes along and they want to put an ad in your app and they've requested to have it between the cover and the introduction or the cover and the contents. That way, all I can do is I can pop that section folder in there and I can just call it 15-ad and I don't have to go in and renumber all my subsequent folders. So I've got my folder set up and now I need to name my page or the first layer of my page. So we're going to work in landscape. So I'm going to call it L for landscape. And L1 means the first page in that section. So this is the first page in my cover section. -1 means this is the first layer of the first page in my section. So we're going to save that out. And then you need to create Oomph export settings, or just to make sure that there's a few things ticked before you export your files. So the most important thing is hyperlinks. So as I said before, it's the basis of all the interactivity in Oomph. So it's really important that you have that highlighted. The next thing is we're going to change our compression to 132 dpi. So I've just done that for all of my images. Marks and bleed we don't need to worry about. The only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to convert my colors to a specific destination, which is RGB. The simple reason for this is, especially when you work with print files and you convert them to iPad files, you might have some CMYK colors that you forgot to convert, or you might have an image that's still in CMYK. When you have CMYK colors on the iPad, they tend to display really saturated. So I just put in the convert to destination to catch any of those images or colors that I've missed and didn't convert to RGB. So that's pretty much everything that I need to look at, and I'm now ready to export my page. And there we go. We've got our first page exported. So now I need to export my second layer. So this is the layer that I want to fade in over the top of my first layer. So I'm going to use exactly the same process. And this is going to be my second layer. So we're going to say L1-2. And I want to add some animation to this layer. So I want it to fade in over the top. So in Oomph, animations are really straightforward. There's a few out-of-the-box animations that's really easy to use. And all you need to do is just tell Oomph what you want that file to do. So in this case, we just want it to fade in. Again, have a look at our documentation. If you just search for animations, it will bring up everything on animations, what all the standard animations are, and how you can use them. All right, so we'll do that again. I've just realized that I'm not exporting my range. So I'll have to export my first layer again. I'll just quickly do that. We'll replace that file and we'll export that. All right, so now we've got our 2 layers exported, but we also need to export our slide that we've set up that's going to live in our title folder. So again, we're just going to use our oomph export setting. And because we told oomph that go and have a look in a folder called title, we need to create that folder. So we'll just create the folder called title. And we're now going to put a slide into a folder. So slides work exactly on the same principle as pages does. So you've got an S1, which just means the first slide in that section, and then -1 is the first layer. So you can layer up slides as well, just as you would with pages. And that's going to be our page 2. All right, so now let's go in our folder that we've just exported. So as you can see, there's our 10- cover folder. I've got my bottom layer, which is my image, and I've got my top layer that's going to fade in over the top. And then I've got my slide in there as well. So at the moment, I've just got my slide that's going to sit on my page. And I've just realized I actually wanted to move in from the inside, or I want to create the illusion that it's moving in from inside of the napkins holder. So to do this, I need to add an animation to my slide as well. So again, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did for my page layer. I'm just going to tell this slide to move in from bottom. There we go. And now we're ready to preview our folder. So I'm going to drag this onto Oomph Editor, and we can just press play in our simulator. And there you can see we've got our layer fading in, we've got our title moving in from the bottom. So there we go, we've set up our cover page. So now let's move on. I'll just open up my files. We're now going to move on to our contents page. So again, I'm going to just close up this. I'm going to navigate to my contents folder artwork, and we're just going to open that up. So again, as you can see, this is what you're going to get when you download the template. So you've got the basic structure. So there's my background, which is on the bottom layer. Got a title, and you've got your hyperlinks set up over the top as well. So you don't have to go in and recreate those hyperlinks. They're already set up for you in the template. So it's the same for all these links to your icons. You might want to edit them. I'll show you how to do that. But the structure's all there. We just have to go in and replace it with our content. So what I've done is I've just updated my background with something more appropriate for my app. Then I've gone in and I'll just lock my hotspots. I've just replaced my images, I've replaced my text. And again, I've decided I want to use another font and place it at the top so it can move in, and I've just replaced the text here. I've also decided I want to use these little icons as well. So now that my artwork's set up, I just need to check on my functionality. So the first thing I want to do is I want my title here. I wanted that to move in from the top. So exactly the same as we did for the cover, we place those elements on a separate layer and we tell it to move in from the top. So we'll do that when we export it. I've just done it there, so that I know what I want that layer to do. The second thing I've done, so I've added new icons, but as you can see, these icons are going to have different functionality than what they did in the Kanji Monster Travel app. So I actually want to bring up a map of Sydney and not of Kyoto, and I want to link to Sydney's best restaurants, Sydney's best bars, and a link to book a restaurant. So all I need to do, so I've got these predefined hyperlinks. So if I just show you here, if I click on there, this is taking me to the What If website, which we made use of in the template. But in the case of Sydney's best restaurants, or in the case of booking a restaurant, I'm making use of the Debbie's.com booking service. So I've just linked it directly to that. So I've just updated my links in there. So you simply just put in your URL. And then we want a pop-up of a map of Sydney. So what I need to do is I need to create a pop-up. So all you do is the OOMPH naming convention for a pop-up is pop-up 1. Again, there's a lot of naming that I'm going to go through today. Have a look at our documentation. If you type in something called a cheat sheet, it's a page that brings up all the naming conventions for all the features in OOMPH. So you've got it all on one page. So you don't have to remember all of them now. So that's our pop-up. And we'll now go in and export our page before we set up our pop-up. So again, what we need to do is we'll need to hide our layer. It's going to be our second layer. And we'll go to our working file. So this is going to be our contents. And again, this is going to be the first page in our content section. So it's going to be our 1-1. And we are then going to export our top layer. And this is going to be our 1-2. And we're going to ask it to move in from top. All right, so that's our page exported. The next thing we need to do is create a pop-up. So I've just created a slide here. That's the size that I want my pop-up to be. So pop-ups are good in OOMPH. Whatever the size that you make your pop-up, OOMPH will automatically put that black border around it. So I've just created my pop-up here. And because I want to have a map inside my pop-up, I need to tell OOMPH where to find that map information from. So I'll bring up my hyperlink so you can see. So as you can see here, I need to tell OOMPH that this is a map. So it's called map 1. And then I've got the latitude and longitude values of where I want that map to be centered. And then I've got the zoom level. So the zoom level is simply telling OOMPH zoom in on street level or zoom in on city level. So that's just the zoom we're going to have in the map. So let me quickly show you how you can actually get these latitude and longitudes. It's really easy. So if we just go to Google Maps. There we go. And we're just going to type in Sydney. So there we've got our little pin for Sydney. And all you need to do is right click and you'll see there's a little tab there that says what's here. If you click on that, it's going to bring up the latitude and longitude. So all we need to do is just simply copy that. And we'll go back to our artwork and we just need to paste that in there. There we go. And we want this to be city level. So we've put our zoom at 0.1. So there we go. That's going to pull that map from Google Maps and it's going to put it into OOMPH for us, or into our app for us. So we've done that. Now we need to export it. And again, it's the same concept as we used before. We've told OOMPH, go and look in a folder called pop-up 1. So we have to create that folder. And we need to create our slide. So we're going to say S1-1. It's going to be the only slide in there, and it's going to be slide 3. All right, so we've created that. The other thing I'll just quickly touch on is we've got these hyperlinks here that's going to link to our pages. And I'll just quickly take you through how these hyperlinks are set up. So pretty much, as you can see, to link to a page, first thing you need to tell is it's a page link, which is P, and then you specify the section name or the folder name. So in this case, we want to link to section 1, but say I actually just wanted to link to my cover, I would have just called this P cover. So that's just a really simple way of linking to all your sections, and I've set these up for all my sections here, but today we're only going to be linking to section 1. All right, so again, let's go back to our folder and have a look at our files. So we've got our bottom layer, top layer of the title moving in, and then we've got our map set up in there. So go back to Auth Editor. And let's just bring up my working files again so we can preview them. So there's our cover. So there's our cover, and there's our contents page with our title moving in from the top. And then if we click on the maps, this is bringing up a map that's around Sydney, so you can see all Sydney suburbs, scroll around. And if we then click on all our web links, this is going to take us to the Dimmy's website. And this is going to take us to the link of Sydney's best bars. And same thing, taking us to the website of Sydney's best restaurants. All right, so my page links are not going to work yet because I haven't set up those sections. So we'll test them at the end once we've done our section 1. All right, so cover and contents are done. Let's move on to our section page. So I'll just again quickly show you what that section page is going to look like. So here we go. This is our section page. And we're going to scroll down. And we'll have the slideshow, some text, and we'll be able to go through. We're going to add another map. I'm going to show you how to put that little pin on there. And again, we'll link to some web links as well. All right, so I'm going to navigate back to Auth Editor, and I'm going to go into my section 1 folder, and I'm going to open up that InDesign file. So again, as you can see here, this is what you're going to get when you download the template. So you've got the structure, and that's the second page. So it's giving you all of the structure that you can work with. We just have to go in and replace it with our own assets. So for the title, simply we've got a background image and we've got a title that moves in, and we've got our little navigation arrows as well. So I'm going to keep the navigation on there. I'm just going to replace my title and my image. So just replace my image. We're going to use Hinky Dinks, which is an American diner, as an example. And I've decided in terms of this photo, it's better if my title sits up on the right-hand side. So I'll put it there, but I've just left my hyperlink and my artwork for back to the menu, and I've just made my navigation link, my navigation arrow a little bit bigger. All right, so we're ready to export. So again, I want my title to move in from the top like we've done before. So I'm going to hide that, and we're ready to export. So we need to create our sections folder. So again, I'm going to call this 30, and this is going to be section 1. I'm calling this section 1. You can call this Hinky Dinks. You can call it anything descriptive that you want to. This name is actually important in that it does come in your app in the thumbnails, and I'll show you in a minute where that comes up. If we just go back to our simulator, I'll show you. If we click if you click once on your screen, you'll actually see there's the cover content. So whatever you're going to call your folder name will actually come up at the bottom of your thumbnails. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so we'll go back to our artwork. So we are exporting the first page in our section 1 folder, first page and first layer. We're still working in landscape. And this is going to be page 2. All right, and just like we did before, we're going to tell our second layer to move in from top. So I've decided actually that I want my second layer to move in from top, but I want it to fade in at the same time. So again, you'll see in our documentation, in OOMF you've got the ability to combine animations. So to do that, all you need to do is simply tell OOMF to combine them. So we want this title to fade in, and then we want it to move in from top. So simple as that. We just combine it with the word and. And there we go. We can export that. So there's our first page ready to go. So let's move on to our second page before we preview. So this is going to be our second page. As you can see, we've got lots of hyperlinks set up here. So we've got our IPS, and I'll quickly take you through all the hyperlinks so you know what they mean. So this is an IPS. IPS is the OOMF naming convention for an in-page slideshow. So this is IPS2. We could have called it IPS1, just as long as whatever's on your artwork corresponds with the name of the folder in your section. So that's going to be our slideshow. The next thing is going to be the area that we're going to tap through with our little buttons at the top. So this is in general what we call an object. And an object you can give any name. So very much the same as what we did on our title page, where we created an object for our Sydney title to move in from the top. This is exactly the same thing. It's an object and we're just going to give it a descriptive name. So in this case, I've called it Content Landscape 1. And this is going to contain slides that we can tap through. So then down here, I've got an object as well. And in this object, I've got something called swipe across. So that's a little navigation icon that I've put in there. Again, the reason I'm putting it in there, I'll show you in a minute when we've exported this page, but this is going to go onto each section. So I don't want to have to repeat it in every section or re-export it for every section. So I'm going to put it in a shared folder and I'll show you where that lives. And then finally, we've got our back to menu button, which is the same as what we had on the previous page. So you'll then see up here, we've got buttons. In OOMF, we call them action hotspots. And action hotspots pretty much tells an object what to do. So these action hotspots is going to tell our Content Landscape 1 what to do. So to set up an action hotspot, I'll bring one up. So this might seem like a long string of text, but once you've done it once, you'll get the hang of it. So basically, firstly, you have to tell OOMF this is an action. And then after that, you have to tell it on what object we want this action to be. So in this case, we want the action to be on Content Landscape 1. Then we have to tell it what is the action that we want to happen. We want it to go to page 1. So in this case, we wanted to go to the first page in that slideshow. We can tell it go to page next. So there's a few things that you can make it do. So again, refer to our documentation, just search for action hotspots and all the information for that will come up. The last thing we can do is we can tell how we want this action to happen, or we can add a transition. So in this case, we just want it to dissolve in and out from one side to the other. So we've just said transition equals dissolve. So I'll just bring up my second action. So my second action is exactly the same, but we're just telling it, if we tap the second button, please go to page 2. All right, so what I've done is I've used that template. I've just simply replaced my background like I've done in all my other pages. And the only other small thing that I've changed is in my template I had 5 action hotspots, but because I know I'm only going to have 4 slides in my content landscape, I want that final button to go to a booking website. So what I've done is I've simply just put in the URL for that booking website. All right, so we've got our page set up. Now we need to set up the content that's going to go into our objects and in-page slideshow. So again, just to show you what you'll see when you download the template, this is going to be our content landscape slides that we're going to work with now. So I'm going to scroll through them. And as you can see, what I've done is I've replaced my icons. Again, I've used the same icons that I've used on the contents page. And what I've done is I've just highlighted the icon, or in this slide, I've highlighted the icon to show the user on what page they're on. So that's my location, website, menus, book a restaurant. So in our first example, let's quickly have a look at our simulator. So our first example, we've got information about Hinky Dinks and we've got a vertical in-page slideshow. So let's set that up. So we've got our icons at the top and now we need to set up a vertical in-page slideshow. So I've already got an area in here that I've drawn a hyperlink and I've called it VIPS2. Again, VIPS stands for vertical in-page slideshow, and 1 or 2 means this is the second vertical in-page slideshow. So that's our first page set up, and now we need to set up the content that's going to go into that vertical in-page slideshow. So I'll quickly just navigate down to that. So before I go to that page, it's important that you make the width of your slide the same as the width of your hyperlink. So if I navigate down here, as you can see here, we'll just make sure it's all the same size. I've set up a slide here, so the width's the same as my hyperlink, but I can make the length as long as I want to. So this is really great, or a really great tool to use when using templates. There's a lot of times you're not going to know, one restaurant might have 2 paragraphs of text, another restaurant might provide 10 paragraphs of text. So it's very hard to design a layout that fits all content, but a VIPS is a really smart way of just allowing for as much content as you're going to get. So all I've done is I've set up my slide here and I've made it as tall as it needs to be to fit on my text. All right, so let's then move on to our second slide in our content landscape folder. So this is the location. So again, we're going to make use of a map and we're going to do exactly the same as we did on the contents page. So if we have a look at our hyperlink, this is called map 2. I've gone in and put in the address of Hinky Dinks and I got my latitude and longitude. And in this case, I actually want it to be at street level. So I actually want to see what street Hinky Dinks are going to be on. The other thing that I'm going to add is a CSV file. So if we go to our example, a CSV file allows me to put that little pin on my map, and when I click it, it brings up Hinky Dinks and it allows me to go to their website. So I'll show you how to set that up as well once we've exported, and then just show you the final pages that we've got. So these are just our web pages. So I'm linking to daily deals, I'm linking to upcoming events, and I'm linking to news. So that's all just taken from the Hinky Dinks website. So as you can see, there's the website. I've simply just put in the URLs. Then I've got a menus page. So again, I've just gone onto the website and I've gotten the links to their menu pages. So within the app, I can tap on there. It brings up their menu straight away. And then, like I said before, finally, we're not going to have a fifth slide because this book restaurant button is going to take you directly to the booking service. All right, so that's our pages set up for the content landscape, and I'm now ready to export them. So because we're telling Oomph, go and have a look in Content Landscape 1, we need to create a folder called Content Landscape 1. And we're going to create our slides. So I can just save this all as one file. And we're going to be saving it from page 10 to 13. All right, so now we have to go in and save our vertical in-page slideshow that we've set up. So again, we need to create a folder called VIPS2 because we told Oomph to go and look in a folder called VIPS2, and we'll save our slide in there. So that's slide 15. So then the final thing we need to set up is our slideshow. So we need to put slides in our IPS. So I've just done it in my InDesign file. Again, when you open up your template, you'll see placeholder slides that you can just use. Otherwise, there's no reason why you can't just set up these slides in Photoshop and export them to the correct size and put them in your folders, PNG or JPEGs. But I've just put it all in one file because it's easy to put they all together. So I've just put in my 3 slides here. I'm going to export. So again, I'm going to go in there and we're going to create a folder called IPS2, and we're going to export our slides. So slides 19 to 21. All right, so the last thing we need to do is set up our maps folder. So I'm going to go into my bundle that I've already done, and I'm going to copy out my maps folder. So again, we've called it map2. Let me just go to our little maps folder we set up so you can have a look at it. So we've called it map2. So our folder needs to be called map2. And then in here, we've got a CSV file. And CSV file you can open up in Excel or Numbers, whatever you've got on your computer. And as you can see, it's just a simple spreadsheet. And I've put in my latitude and longitudes. And the third and fourth column, so the latitude and longitude tells it where to place that pin on your map. And then third column tells you if you tap on that pin, what do you want it to say or what text do you want to come up. And then finally, the fourth column is the link. So if you decide you want that pin to link to something. So in our case, we're linking it to the Hinky Dinks website. If you leave that blank, then you won't be able to link to anything. So it's up to you whether you want to link or not. And then all you need to do is export it as a CSV. And we'll just go to our folder that we've set up. So it's going to be map 2, and we're going to export our CSV. All right, so now I'll just delete that. We're ready to test our full working file. So again, I'm going to open up in the simulator. We'll see what we've got. All right, there's our cover. All right, there's our cover. We've got our contents coming in, moving in from top. We've got the map of Sydney. We've got our links here. And now it's actually going to, my page links are going to work. So as you can see, it's going to link to that section page. I've got my title moving in from the top and fading at the same time. And just remembered we haven't exported our second page, which is why it's not going to work. So if we go back up, we need to export this page that we've put all our content into. So let's quickly do that, and we'll do a preview again. So as you can see, we've only got one page. We need to specify the second page. So second page in this folder is simply going to be L2-1. So our second page doesn't have any layers. So it's going to be page 4. I'll just go back into my auth editor and we'll check. Yep, we've got our second page there now. And let's preview it again. So going to our contents, linking to our section 1, and there's our second page. So we can see where we've got our content landscape slides coming up. We've got our VIPS that we can scroll through, and then we can click on our map. We've got our Hinky Dinks pop-up coming up, and that's going to link us to the website. And then if we go into our web page links, that's going to take us to the Hinky Dinks website. Our menu links are going to take us to the Hinky Dinks menus. And finally, our booking button is going to take us to the booking site. So we've now pretty much set up the main structure of our new app. So we've worked with the template structure that we've had. We've put in our own icons, we've changed the look and feel, we've put in our own backgrounds. And all you need to do now is just repeat this section 1 artwork. So for your next restaurant listing, you're simply going to create, a folder called 40-section 2, or whatever your restaurant might be called. And you're going to have exactly the same files that you're going to save in there after you've replaced all those assets for the new restaurant. And then you can just go in and have as many restaurants as you want. And that's the beauty of a template. So all the hard work's done. We just have to go in and replace the assets. So keeping in mind, I'm calling this section 1, section 2. If you decide to change it to the actual restaurant's name or give your folder a unique name, remember that you then have to go into the artwork for your for your contents, and you have to update that section name in there. So that brings us to the end of the work of editing our template. Like I said at the start of the webinar, it's a really, really good way of getting a concept for an app together to then go and pitch to a client. You can actually use one template for multiple clients. As you can see, I've made this template look like a completely different app from the original Kanji Monster template that we downloaded. So again, it might be that you've got a great idea for an app and you want to pitch it to 10 clients. You take a template, you roll it out with their branding, and you go and show it to 10 clients. And out of that 10 clients, hopefully 2 of them sign up and you can create the app for them, and half the work is done already. So I'll then just quickly take you through the next step. So say you've created your template, or you've pitched your template to your client. They love it. They want to go ahead. I'll just take you to the next steps. They want to go ahead. Basically, what do you do now? So the next step then is to publish your template onto the App Store. So you first need to buy a license. So to do that, I'll just quickly show you where you can do that on our website. So it's oomphlehq.com/pricing. And this will show you the types of licenses that you can buy for Oomph. So a standalone app is pretty much an app that has a single content bundle. So the example that we worked on today is probably a very good candidate for a standalone app. So it's got, when you open it up, it's always going to be the same content. You are able to update that content, but it's always going to be a Sydney cheap eats guide for summer. In winter, you might update it with the winter content, but it's always an app and it opens up and it's the same content. So a new Sandal library app is more for magazine style, subscription style apps. So that's more in the case of you've got a January edition of a magazine that you're publishing and you want that to be on a newsstand, and then in February you publish your next edition, and in March your third edition, and so forth. But your January, February, all those editions are always going to sit on your newsstand, so users can download past editions as well. So you're not overwriting your content, you're keeping all your content bundles within that app. Then the last type of license is an Oomph Live app license. So this is quite different to what we've done today. It's makes use of templates, but you're actually not manually putting in content in InDesign. You'll have a template structure that you develop in InDesign, but then you actually pull in content, dynamic content from either a CMS or an RSS feed or an XML feed. So this is the most commercial example out there today that I can compare it to is Flipboard. So it's like a news app, and basically every time you open up that news app, it's going to update that content from wherever it's pulling it from to the latest content. So news is probably the most obvious use for this app. You will need to, if you pitch this to a client, you will need access to their backend, so to their CMS or to their RSS feeds. So if you wanted to go down this path, let us know, contact us, and we can give you all the information of what you need and what you need from your clients. So that brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this template overview gave you the tools to make some great demos, to pitch to your clients and make it easier to actually go in and sell your apps and sell your wonderful design services. Please, we're going to send out the files afterwards with a survey. So please fill out the survey if you have a minute. Tell us what more webinars you want us to do. We're doing these webinars for you. So essentially, we really want feedback to know what you want more of. Register for upcoming webinars at oomphlehq.com/webinars. And we'll now go into some question and answer time. So if anyone has any questions, you can either type them in or just shoot away and we can get to some questions. All right, so I think that's all our questions answered. Again, thank you so much for your time. I hope this was a helpful session, and we hope to see you in an upcoming webinar soon. Thank you very much.